Okay,
What's up?
I'll rock and roll.
All right, we'll call the meeting to order and we'll start with introductions. I'm Matt Brower, Chair of the State Committee, and we have Scott Ryan here. Yeah.
Scott Ryan, voting member.
And Darren, are you on? Yes.
Yep, I'm on. Darren Hickling, voting member, vice chair.
Erica
Not here today.
is not on, and Megan?
You're unmuted.
Okay, yeah, I'm here.
Okay. All right, and Bethany's gonna do the roll call for everybody else.
All right, thank you, Matt. Let's go around the room here and then in Syracuse, and then we'll do everybody else. So I'm Bethany Bisdew, Executive Director of the State Soil and Water Conservation Committee. Brian?
Brian Steinmuller, Assistant Director of the Division of Land and Water Resources at Ag and Markets.
Jason Coquinos, Ag On-Point Source Manager. Ben Muskin, Region 5, AEA.
Jennifer Clifford, Sierra Program Manager.
And Tim Clark, Engineer for the State Committee.
And Melissa Gordon, Administrative Assistant.
All right, who do we have in Syracuse?
Hi, this is PJ Emmerich, Region 2 Regional Coordinator.
And Tyler Knapp, Watershed Programs Coordinator with the State Committee.
All right, so I will do a roll call of the advisory members who may be joining us online. How about Cornell Cooperative Extension? Cornell Cals?
Yep, Jared's here.
Good morning. Conservation District Employees Association.
Good morning, Caitlin Stewart.
Good morning, Caitlin.
Good morning, Bethany.
How about DEC?
Billy Capola here for New York State DEC.
Tony Giacomo here, DEC.
Good morning. Department of Health?
Yes, good morning. Paul Kazmarzik here.
Good morning, Paul. Department of State? SUNY ESF? Right, and NRCS?
Good morning. This is Elena Covington, Assistant State Con for Partnerships. Glad to be here.
Good morning, Elena. Thanks for joining. All right. So now I'll move on to roll call of staff who might be joining online. We have Greg Albrecht.
Morning, Greg Albrecht, Principal Environmental Analyst with the State Committee and Ag and Markets.
Ryan Cunningham. Ron Bush. Brendan Jordan.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Brendan Jordan, CNMP Specialist for the State Committee.
Tim Sheldon. Victor DiGiacomo.
Morning, Victor Giacomo, Regional Field Staff for Western New York.
Lauren Przorski.
Hi, Lauren Przorski, Ecosystem-Based Management Manager for this Ag and Markets.
Chastity Miller.
Jazz Miller here for the AEM Base Coordinator for AEM.
Good morning, everyone, and I just would like to welcome all of our Soil and Water Conservation District partners who have joined the meeting this morning, as well as any members of the public who have joined. Please, if you're online, feel free to enter your name and your affiliation into the chat for our official minutes. That wraps up introductions. Matt.
Okay, we'll review and approve the minutes from the last meeting. Is there any discussion? If not, I'll ask for a motion to approve.
So move.
Second?
Second.
All right, we'll go to voting. Darren?
Aye.
Scott?
You voted, it wasn't there.
Pardon?
I wasn't here last year, no.
Okay.
If you want.
No, same.
Erica?
Everybody's not here.
It's not here.
It's not here. Megan? Okay.
Aye.
Aye for me as well. You just barely made it.
No.
Scott's abstention.
All right. Correspondence, Bethany?
Okay, so we did get two pieces of correspondence that I'll be presenting this month to the state committee. Both of these letters were sent to the voting members in advance of the meeting. We received one letter that is in regards to a managerial rate for round 20 in the agricultural environmental management program. And the second letter is a training request of the state committee. Both of these letters were received from Jennifer Kelly, who is representing the CDEA State Programs Advisory Committee Subcommittee. Both of these letters were reviewed and approved by the CDEA board at their last meeting earlier this month in June of 2025. So I'll read through each letter. I may not read it word for word, but I think I'll be able to get most of the content. Caitlin, if I miss anything, any important details, feel free to jump in. So the first letter that I'm going to present is the addition of managerial rates to the round 20 agricultural environmental management based program. And this letter states, the New York State Conservation District Employees Association urges the New York State Soil and Water Conservation Committee to consider adding a managerial rate to the agricultural environmental management program for the round 20 funding cycle. The recent inclusion of increased rates for qualified technical staff in round 19 will undoubtedly have positive impacts on program implementation, and we believe a managerial rate would yield similar benefits. A managerial rate would increase efficiency within the program in future funding rounds. Currently, the round 19 reimbursement rate for technical services in the base program is a flat $60 per hour, which adequately covers salaries and benefits for technicians based on the 2025 hourly rate memo. With the program's 75% cost share structure, the district's overhead expenses estimated at $15 per hour provide sufficient matching funds. However, managerial staff face financial challenges under the existing rate structure. The average managerial rate is $74 an hour per overhead, meaning districts incur losses when managers dedicate time to the program. Among other duties, district managers oversee strategic planning, project prioritization, delegation, plan and design review, budgets, contracting, certification, payments, reporting, and closeouts. While technicians contribute to project management, their expertise is best suited for conservation planning and implementing best management practices. Without an increased managerial rate, districts often assign project management duties to technicians, limiting their capacity to complete additional projects or conservation plans. With support from the state committee, district staff sizes have grown, increasing the need for dedicated project management personnel. Additionally, establishing a separate rate for program management will offer clearer insights into the time invested in these essential administrative tasks. So that is the first letter. I think maybe we can pause and discuss this letter and then we'll cover the next one.
Right, yes. So discussion on that letter, and just I'll start it off by saying that after reading it over, I kind of understand where they're coming from, that the managers, and I know just from listening to the discussions at our board meetings, the district managers are involved in the process and they do spend time on it. And so I do kind of feel like I understand where they're coming from. I don't know if anybody else has any thoughts on it, but that's my thinking.
Well, my question, and this is because I'm new to this, Matt, I'm not sure what we're supposed to do with the letter. Are we supposed to say we agree? And if we agree, then where does funding come from to make that additional position?
I'm guessing it's straighten me out if I'm wrong on it, but I'm guessing it when they apply for the funds, they would include that in the proposal, a fee for the manager, and then if they're approved, that's how the cost for the managers, if you will, would be included.
So it's more of making here.
Say that one more time, Megan. I'm sorry, I cut you off.
More of making us aware that they intend to do this and to not surprise us.
Well, I think it's more just a formal request asking us to consider, making an hourly rate available specific for managers with our next round of AEM funding. Earlier this spring, we rolled out AEM round 19, which did not have a specific managerial rate. And so I think this letter is maybe in response to that and requesting that the state committee consider developing a standalone managerial rate for the next round of funding, which won't come out for another couple of years. So I think if we wanted to respond to this letter, we can respond in any way you want. We could write back saying, thank you for acknowledging receipt of the letter. We will consider this for the next round of funding. Or, we will respond however you guys think it's appropriate. But I think it's fair to say, and Chaz and Greg, you can jump in here too, that we will be considering this for the next round of funding, but because we've already gone through the process to get, the approvals for round 19, we can't make any adjustments there, but going forward, the next AEM round, we can consider that.
And I think, Megan, it would be something that they would have to tell up front. There wouldn't be like just any surprise like that where all of a sudden they're requesting money for something that they didn't, have in the original proposal.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, can I jump in as well? Correspondence is a really great tool to bring awareness to the committee directly. And then, in years past, the committee would consider and then direct staff to come back with a proposal for how to address. So Bethany, right to your point, right, next round, that would consider the funding needs for this, what any increase of funding it would be, and then bring that back in the form of recommendation for the next round. So that's generally how we would handle the correspondence, something like this.
And it would be, so if staff recommended that it be included, then it would be in the round that the voting members vote on. So we could either vote at that time, we would pass the resolution either approving or not.
Yep.
Yeah. So we don't need to take an action today, necessarily.
The
as far as
action would be directed
a
to
final
staff, directed to staff to look into what the cost increase would be with the new rate.
Right.
Ensuring that you're giving us direction to build that into scenarios for the next.
Right. So, do any other voting members have any comments or questions
I appreciate the explanation, so then it seems to make sense to make go ahead, you have to see if anyone else has comments.
Yeah, so I think that would be, the best approach would be to reply with a letter that the staff will look into it and you know, come back to the state committee voting members with a recommendation.
Yeah, okay.
So does that need a motion then, Matt?
I don't think, huh? Yeah,
Why not?
yeah. Okay. Okay,
Make it official.
motion to approve that.
Yeah, I make a motion, but I would also add that we should reply back and say thank you for the correspondence, and we will consider, we'll do some more diligence.
Yes. Okay, so that's your motion, Megan?
Yes.
Okay, so a second?
Second.
Okay, so we'll go to voting. Darren?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
Megan?
Aye.
And aye for me as well. So that motion is approved. And we will go to the second letter.
Okay, so the second letter I already mentioned was also received from Jennifer Kelly, who is representing the CDEA State Programs Advisory Committee, Subcommittee. And this letter is requesting that the New York State Conservation District Employees Association requests collaboration with state committee staff and requests that we collaborate with experienced soil and water conservation district staff to offer regional training sessions for eligible practices under the Conservation Approval Authority, which was a policy approved by the state committee in 2019. These training sessions should include both classroom style instruction and, where appropriate, in-field training led by experienced district technicians. The training should cover design surveys, construction layouts, and as-built surveys. Regular regional training throughout the year would benefit both new and experienced district employees by making this opportunity more accessible, and would give new technicians field experience, provide opportunities for mentorship, and allow the state committee engineer to easily extend CCA to the participants, while events like the Conservation Skills Workshop and the Water Quality Symposium could serve as venues. The hands-on nature of the CAA process may be better suited to smaller field-based sessions. It is especially valuable for technicians to gain experience from initial site assessments to the completion of as-built documentation. And after, I'll just say, after sending this letter out to voting members per Matt's request, I also sent you all a copy of our Conservation Approval Authority policy, which defines the various best management practices that I guess are eligible through that process, with the exception of stream crossings, because that authority was taken away by the state education department.
Yeah.
Tim Clark also presented on the CAA process back in April, at our meeting in Utica. So there's, recording and meeting minutes available for anyone who wants to go review that. So I'll stop there, I guess, for any discussion that folks want to have.
Is the current training is included in the Conservation Skills Workshop and the Water Quality Symposium? Do they do training there currently for?
Occasionally, not regularly.
Okay.
The regular, most students do the online training,
Online.
complete the course project, send it to me, and that's the process. But we've done standalone trainings a couple times in the past.
Mm-hmm. Because that was one thought I had was, could it be worked into the Conservation Skills Workshop somehow, where you do something?
Yeah.
I don't know where you generally hold that training, but if it's feasible to do it in classroom session in the morning and then go out in the afternoon to a site and actually,
Yeah, we did a heavy use area training like that in 2015.
yeah.
It was,
Did it work or
very few people turned in the class project.
oh,
Like, the training was good, but the CAA tie-in didn't really, I don't know, didn't really result in a lot of fruit, but it'd be worth trying again.
yeah, because, I think a regional thing with a smaller group would be a positive, but I also think my one concern is that there's a lot of meetings and training and things going on now.
Yeah.
And is it too much to ask for district staff to, take another day or 2 or 3 days or whatever to do training? I know, a lot of districts with all these grants and everything else, they're pretty overloaded with work. So I'm not opposed to the training idea. I'm just trying to think of a way that it can be done without adding more days of training to what is already going on with meetings and training.
That makes sense. We kind of run into this every time we come up with the boot camp idea. The years we do boot camp, usually the students that go to that don't also go to skills workshop. So that brings those numbers down. And then we're left feeling, well, we should just do the boot camp track at skills workshop because it's the default training and everybody's there and everybody's planning for it. So, there's definitely a limit on the number of days managers want their technicians out of the office doing training.
There's Caitlin, you had your hand raised.
Yes, thank you. I would just like to provide some points of clarification. The Conservation District staff truly appreciate the YouTube channel that provides these trainings. What we're looking for is for perhaps Tim to develop a traveling road show to hit regional, to hit regions across the state for these trainings. The Conservation Skills Workshop has a number of tracks, ag, non-ag, forestry, and we want to make sure that the track chairs have the space that they need to offer trainings, and the standalone workshops would be in addition to the Conservation Skills Workshop. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I that's kind of what I was thinking. Does the Employees Association see a way that a regional training like that maybe could be combined with something else and I'm just, if it's possible where you're having a regional meeting for something else to do part day training, part day meeting on another, whatever the other, whether it's a manager's meeting or something, so that it's not another day where the district staff is not doing their normal activities, I guess. Is there a way to combine things?
I think what the Employees Association strongly feels is that these trainings are worthwhile and would be worth standalone opportunities. For example, our CDEA meetings that are held every other month are already 2 days. So I think, for example, to tack on a training, it may exhaust those in attendance, especially the board members who would also be seeking CCA approval authority. Our June CDEA meeting, for example, was a total of 9 hours over 2 days with a break. We started at 12 on day 1, ended at 4. We started at 8 on day 2 and ended at 1. So we have, the Employees Association has a very robust agenda. And I do feel like standalone trainings would be well received, and that was the impetus for this request.
Okay, all right, because that's just my main concern is whether it be a district manager or whatever saying, oh, gee, another day of training, we're not getting anything done in the field. And that's just my main concern is that there being some frustration there. But if the general feeling amongst the districts is that it's worthwhile and beneficial, then that's, that's important too. Is there any other discussion, comments?
I will add a comment. So after receiving these letters from Jennifer, there was a kind of a follow-up email. I think a good path forward would be for some state committee staff to meet with Jennifer and a couple other CDEA folks to kind of start brainstorming some ideas on how this could best work. Whether that's, working with Tim to develop a rubric essentially that then like division reps or, people within each division of across the state could then take and host regional trainings, or I don't know, we could spitball a bunch of different ideas, but I think maybe moving forward in that direction, kind of workshopping it a little bit to see what might work is a good first step maybe.
Yeah, I think there definitely needs to be more discussion on how to make it work.
The logistics of it all. I mean, the training, boots on the ground training is excellent. I think it's definitely needed, especially for the younger technicians. Let's just logistically getting it worked out.
Yeah.
My two questions would be, is there enough new staff? I would guess there is. Is there enough new staff that this becomes an important structure and learning opportunity for them? And then just to Matt's concern, is this a required training or is it a suggested training that we're talking about?
Suggested.
Yeah, definitely suggested, and it's an opportunity for district staff to I guess become certified and to sign off on certain best management practices. So it's for technical staff capacity, building their ability to be able to sign off on certain practices, might help to streamline some things within their individual offices. So it's just a nice tool and something that district staff could take advantage of if they want it.
Yeah. And generally the feedback from district managers that I hear is that once they've gone through a course project, that gives them confidence to, dip their toes into design for the next, real deal.
And Caitlin, how many new employees were announced at the symposium this year?
Yes, I think we had about 20 or 30 this year.
And it was the same last year too, right? I think. So definitely new staff is out there for sure.
Okay, well, I would move that we go forward with Bethany's suggestion of entering in discussions about how this could be structured.
Yeah, the new staff may be the catalyst. There's also a suggestion in the chat here to not only limit to new staff, but there are existing staff within districts that may benefit.
Well, yeah, certainly, but
Exactly.
yeah.
Just want to make sure.
Yep.
Folks saw that in the chat.
So yeah, I agree with what Megan said, that we follow along the lines of what Bethany said with a letter saying that we agree the training is important and that, get a group together to try to work out some details.
Sounds good.
Just because we did a motion on the other one, can we do one for this one too?
Yes, we can.
I think you just said it.
So a motion to approve that? Okay, second?
Yes.
All righty, so we'll do voting. Darren?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
Megan?
Yes,
And that for me as well. All right, so that's that, and there's no other correspondence, correct?
Correct.
All right, so we will look at the 2025 annual plan of work approval for Herkimer and Saratoga.
Yeah, so the agenda that went out only references Herkimer, but I did have an additional request come in from Saratoga, well, from Scott Fickbaum, on Saratoga's behalf to reapprove their 2025 district annual plan of work. Just a quick review on what that is. Each year, at the end of the year, a district will submit an annual plan of work for the following year to their regional staff person for review, and ultimately the state committee approves all of the district annual plans of work. These are documents that essentially set a roadmap, for district activity for, the upcoming year. And so it's important that various projects and grants and whatever work a district may anticipate is included in those plans. So the Herkimer Soil and Water District and Saratoga District have both, their original plans were approved in December, I believe, of last year, along with everybody else's. But they have updated them since to include some new projects that they weren't anticipating. Specifically for Herkimer, they added some additional grant activities for the CAFO Enhanced Nutrient Management Program, and some additional work with the Upper Susquehanna Coalition and an invasive species program. Saratoga, similar, they added some additional grant work that they had not anticipated at the end of last year with the CAFO Enhanced Nutrient Management Program and CRF Round 8, as well as some other soil health initiatives. We maintain a copy of the updated annual plans of work, here in the office. So voting members, if you want to see their actual full, complete annual plan of work, I can provide that to you. But these have both, the revisions have both been reviewed, and Scott Fickbaum is recommending reapproval.
Any discussion, questions, comments? If not, and we're gonna do one motion for both,
that's fine.
if not, a motion to approve both revised plans.
I'll make the motion to approve both revised plans.
Second?
second,
All right, we'll vote. Darren?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
Megan?
aye.
Aye for me as well. So that motion is approved.
Thank you very much.
So we are up to the agricultural non-point source pollution abatement and control program with Jason, and apparently there's some amendments.
Yes, I can pull those up really quick, Jason. Just bear with me. Let me switch. There we go. Okay, whenever you're ready.
All right, thanks. We gave you material earlier last week, I believe. But I'll go over the amendments now. So there are two amendments, both from Onondaga County and Region 2 for state committee consideration. Onondaga County Soil and Water Conservation District is seeking a 1-year no-cost time extension on a Round 24 project titled Nutrient and Sediment Reduction in the Chickenango Watershed until December of this year. The reason for this extension is that the final participating farm of the project has mostly completed the contracted practices of silage leachate and soil conservation system. However, a concurrent NRCS contract with the farm has required that they address some components before they can meet their cost share. On inspection, NRCS required modifications to seeding and grading of the component BTA before they could sign off. The district plans to address these during the current construction season. The requested extension will allow the farm to meet and close the requirements in both state and federal contracts. PJ Emmerich, Region 2 AEA supports the request and refers approval to the state committee.
Any questions or discussion?
Oh,
If not,
I have
go
a
ahead.
question. Sorry, Matt. When you see extensions, how typical is it you get multiple extensions?
I wouldn't have exact numbers on it. I do acknowledge this is probably the fourth extension on this one, so that's a little out of the ordinary, and it's going to be an age project. We only have about 5 more round 24s left. So this is, I would say, unique in the amount of time that they have taken a hit at it to come back to it.
But it's still a project you'd like to see done. So I understand.
Well, and Megan, one thing we do get concerned about sometimes is if you look at the start date on this one, 2018, and we sometimes are a little concerned when they are going for so long. But it does look as though maybe this one
Looks like it's
is getting there.
weather cooperates.
Yeah, yeah. So, but we have had a couple where they've stretched out for quite a period of time, and we were getting concerned about why.
Okay, thank you.
So if there's no other questions or concerns, motion to approve this extension?
I motion to approve the extension.
Second?
Second. I guess I will understand.
Okay. And so we will vote. Darren?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
Megan?
Aye.
And aye for me as well. Motion approved, and we'll look at the second extension.
So the second one, also from Onondaga County Soil and Water Conservation District, they're seeking a 1-year no-cost time extension on the round 27 project titled Limestone Creek Non-Point Reduction until March 1st of 2026. Additional time is needed for the farm to complete the project because bids on the original concrete work of the bunk silage treatment were too high for their financial means. NRCS did redesign the project, and a contractor is now prepared. However, the extension is required to complete this work with the new design to be in contract terms with all the state and federal grants they've received. PJ Emmerich, Region 2 AEA supports the request and refers approval to the state committee.
Any questions or comments, discussion?
No, I move to approve the extension.
Okay, so motion to approve. I assume that was a
Second.
alrighty. We'll vote. Darren?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
Megan?
Aye.
And aye for me as well. All right, so we are on program update.
All right. Sharing my screen now for everyone in the room. I'll give you all the program update for Ag 9-Point Source. This is sort of displacing our dashboard. I'll keep building on this through meetings, but I want to give you guys a quick snapshot of program manager level of what's going on. So active rounds in the Ag 9-Point Source program include rounds 23 to 29. There's 129 active contracts currently. There's only one remaining round 23 active, as you can see on the table and graph above. However, this contract is under review for close and final claim of payment. We're just looking at some additional procurement information from the district. No round 29 contracts have been closed so far. On screen, you'll see the breakdown, and it does a good job of demonstrating the number of contracts per round and then the status of whether completed or still active. And this graph shows the diminishing number of contracts per a steady funding stream. So through these rounds, 14 million was active, however, or offered. However, we are decreasing the number of contracts year to year, despite a similar funding amount. And that could be a result of inflation driving prices higher, or just a larger scope of work, whether that be more farms or just larger projects going in. But neat demonstration of fewer contracts per round. So, I want to keep building on these data analysis. This is what I had to put together today, but if you guys have other suggestions on what you'd like to see me demonstrate each month, let me know. But I thought this was a nice contract level snapshot. Any questions?
No, it does seem like there was a couple of the amendments that were a result of increased costs above what was estimated. So I guess that is gonna be kind of a concern maybe in the future that costs keep going up.
Okay.
So we're on 31 RFP changes and discussion. Is that where we're at?
Now I can give you guys a snapshot of our ideas to propose changes. These are not concrete set yet. We are proposing these ideas to you for feedback and ideas from the state committee. This is not for approval yet. We'd be looking for approval on the RFP in July next month. So between now and when we meet again, we'll be giving you a draft RFP for your approval, incorporating the following ideas. These were built from feedback from conservation districts at our staff meetings, and also feedback from our reviewers and our technical advisory committee, our TAC committee. So these are not just internal brainstorming ideas only, but done from feedback and a lot of good ideas and not so good ideas. And this is what shook out in the end. A theme that we wanted to get back to was back to roots, back to the original program, to get things back to the original offering. Maybe a good analogy would be too many coats of paint on something. So let's skin it back a little bit to what made the kind of program so good to you. So wanted to demonstrate the funding that will be available this year. We were just talking about rounds 25 to 29, 14 million offered. That would be consistent this year from the EPF line. However, similar to round 30, we have this additional Bond Act influx. So that top right number that you see there is the approximate funding we're anticipating to release for round 31, similar to round 30. The bullet points are the breakdown that we do to move the different funding around to make this funds available for it. So we have our appropriations from the Environmental Protection Fund, 24-25, 17.5 million. We take 4.5 million from that for AIM-based funding, and I see this as a forward investment in ag non-point source because it preps these farms with their AIM-based so that they can get those early tiers established and that they can get some planning done perhaps, to get kickoff for those later competitive grants. There are some sub-allocations, carve-outs, if you will, of the ag non-point source budget line items. So they go to Cornell and CCE. And then we have return funds. So we will get a closeout back and maybe a farm dropped out or something like that, or came in under budget, and we get some money back or that was originally contracted out. That keeps accumulating, and that allows us to put in additional funding to meet that 14 million, what we're anticipating. Not set in stone, but it looks good to offer that. And this is for Environmental Protection Fund. There's no bounds on this like there is in the next offering Bond Act. So in EPF funding, implementation is funded, planning is funded, no restriction on the NRCS systems or the conservation systems that we would be allowed to fund. Now, Bond Act, we have confirmed that there is $11 million being allocated this year. That's from the 2022 Green Jobs, Green Energy Bond Act. And these are bondable practices only. That would be the only bounds on the Bondable Act. And so they have to be construction. So things that could be put in the ground, access control, erosion control system, waste storage system, things like this. Could it be your agronomic practices, cover crop, or could it be planting, things like this? Has to be something that could actually be constructed. And a theme last year that we were trying to dig through was whether or not the Bond Act funding would have to, be subject to prevailing wage. We did get exemption from that through some back and forth and interpretation of our attorneys last year. That's going to continue this year. So we don't see a reason to split the funding up. This will just be all offered in one pot, and then on the back end, staff can allocate the funding as needed. Break up the funding to bondable for bondable practices and not. So we will do that. So applicants only have to worry about getting a good project forward, not necessarily a good project, the right funding source. That's our job. Okay. Tentative timeline, that's gonna look a lot similar to next year. So we are looking to release the proposals in late October of 2025. We will have question and answers through the fall. They will be accepted by me as program manager. We answer them as a team, we get council's approval, and then we release the answers so that everyone can have equal chance at them and an equal shot at the proposal. Final Q&A will be in mid-December, and the deadline for proposal submission will be in late February. Similar to this year, they were due February 24th. So we're kind of matching the same things. And looking for award announcement in June, which we, earlier than this year. I think that's optimistic to say that. And we have been hitting the ground running a little bit more with our award processes, our contract processes. So, looking forward next summer, awards to round 31 being announced. So here's a summary of ideas for round 31 RFP changes. Again, these were workshopped with Conservation District and our colleagues at the TAC. And we were looking for, again, my theme is streamlined and simplified. So one area we wanted to go at was to reduce extraneous questions. We wanted to ask ourselves, what is the purpose of this question? And can we get it somewhere else in the application? So let's just have applicants sell the project as best as possible. And if we want data, we can do a little bit more digging on our end so that, we can shoulder some of that administrative work. We like to share with you guys what was proposed. It helps the program, it helps us secure more funding. We're still going to do that. We're still going to tell you how many waste storage and then stuff like that. It's not how many cover crops are implemented, but we can not ask districts that up front if it's not really impacting the proposal strength or the scoring at all. We also wanted to lean into the narratives a little more, offer some more breathing room for applicants to write out the setting that they're working in. We got some feedback that the aquatic resource narrative was too constrictive, especially if there were multiple farms. So reordering the narrative and adding more page length to them and the ability to have attachments and appendices as needed might be a good idea. We didn't get feedback from reviewers that was the bane of the challenge. It was the volume of proposals they got us this year, not necessarily how long they were, but just the number that they got. So let's get enough breathing room, enough writing room for conservation districts to apply. Also, appendices. We got feedback that appendices are valuable when they are, but also not always needed. So why don't we take the good information that you get from the appendices, like the specifics on a waste storage that are pulled from a CNMP, or the cost and the alternatives breakdown of a heavy use area, roofed heavy use area. Let's take those kind of themes and build them into the narrative. So you could explain the details of these for any system if it were needed, or if you believe your project is strong enough on its own, maybe you don't need to discuss the alternatives in the detail that the appendices ask for. Again, we're just trying to have districts for less, but still get the information that reviewers need. Next point, I touched on a little bit earlier, no tracks. Let's not have tracks if we don't need them. We did tracks last year because we didn't know if Bond Act was going to have to be different, and the various difference of prevailing wage would just change budgets so drastically. But there doesn't seem to be a reason to, as the RFP is now, to break projects up or have them compete separately in that vein. We did look at having a CAFO separate track. We can discuss that alone. Did some analysis on it, and through discussion, it wasn't obvious that CAFOs needed their own pathway to apply through Ag non-point source. We didn't see that they were dominating funding, especially. I can get that if you guys need. Next point, preference points. Proposing no preference points this year. Want to get back to just the best projects rising to the top, and a lot of preference points from last year and previous years were legacy initiatives. They were pushing for clean drinking water plans, or clean water plans in general, or we wanted to push buffers a lot. And instead of having so many different targets, why don't we just let the best projects rise to the top without putting a thumb on the scale for any project without strong data or a reason to do it. Let's just go back to basics. Scoring criteria. This is a constant challenge for us. There are 50 points for the Ag Point Source program across 4 categories. Those 4 categories have a total of 33 sub bullet points for review consideration. So that's like, you know, that's a lot. That would be like 1.5 points per bullet point. So we were wondering if there's a way to reduce the amount of things that reviewers need to look at when grading these or scoring these. Is there a way that we can cut down on redundancy, or maybe there was some legacy initiatives in there that aren't as relevant anymore? Do we really need those? That's with the caveat that all these were added for a reason, so we're going to need a good reason to remove them too. We're working on that currently. Okay, and then timeline. This is not so much a change of the RFP, but a change of how it's going to be administered. A problem that I haven't been able to solve yet is the volume of proposals that come in, and that's great. That shows how many projects need to get done across and the interest in our program, but it's also an administrative burden for us and for reviewers. A general consistent comment from reviewers this year was that they were pretty heavily inundated by the number of proposals, and we want to make sure that they're all getting, you know, their just review on them. So the one thing that they asked for was 2 to 4 weeks of additional review time. That's just going to slow things down. We didn't want to tie anyone's hands behind their back or have a limit on proposals per se, because that would really just maybe compress more farms onto fewer proposals. You know, doesn't really cut down on work, but maybe go about this by just having more time for reviewers to look at it and you know, have them work through it at their pace. And then one thing, this was a great idea from one of our staff meetings. We should hold a debrief on the RFP as soon as we're able. So we look for feedback from districts as soon as we can, but just the cadence and the speed of the state and what everyone's doing and how busy we are, sometimes we don't get to it for a little bit. So we're looking to get feedback as soon as we can. That would be after eligibility screening. That'll take a few weeks. So we're looking to, when these proposals are being reviewed, to have just a general town hall of applicants ask how did it go while it's still fresh in their minds. So those are ideas, trying to get the program just running smoother and more efficiently, and not taking any crazy steps this year, just trying to get things moving streamlined.
How much time do the reviewers get now?
We gave them 6 weeks this year.
6 weeks.
Yeah.
I look back fondly at those days.
I didn't have nowhere near as many.
As many weeks or as many proposals.
Or weeks. Either. But I do agree that, you know, a time extension, given the number of proposals, I think is going to make sense.
That's pushing a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it does delay things a little more, but we want to make sure they've got time to do a thorough job.
That's the summary of them, but that's the purpose of that quick slideshow was to pose ideas to you guys, and you know how to get a hold of me. Let me know what you're thinking as committee members or anyone, staff or anyone as we're building these out. Let me know. We're looking to have approval on the RFP next month, so we'll get you a draft between now and July.
Any questions or discussion concerning the changes that Jason gave us?
I'll just add on here. We have a technical advisory committee meeting scheduled for June 30th, where I think the plan is, Jason, to go through the changes more thoroughly there. We got a little out of order. Ideally, tax should happen first before we, discuss anything here, but because this was just a presentation of what we're thinking and proposed changes, we thought it would be okay to talk about it. But we will be meeting with the advisory members on June 30th to go through the draft RFP more thoroughly. And then, just to reiterate what Jason said, we'll send the voting members the actual copy of the draft RFP in advance of our July meeting.
I hope to participate in that meeting. I've missed the past couple, but I'm hoping to
I hope so too.
listen in on that. If it rains, which it probably will.
Seems inevitable these
Given
days.
the way things have been. Any other comments? Then we will move on to the climate resilient farming program with Jennifer.
Great. I don't have any amendments this month. But I am working on the last closeout for round 3. So soon we will have rounds 1 through 3 closed out and completed. For round 8, we have all of the contracts from tracks 1A, 2, 3A, and 4. Those were the originally state funded tracks for round 8. Those have all been reviewed by council and are all moving forward to the districts for signature, and then OSC approval, AG approval, and then they'll be executed. So they are moving along fairly quickly. The other tracks for 1B and 3B, those were the federally funded tracks. We are still waiting on some approvals to make an amendment to that round to use state funding to cover that federal funding loss. So those contracts, excuse me, are still pending those approvals before we can move forward with them. Round 9, the RFP has been approved by the state committee and is now under council's review internally. Once approved, that will start moving through the internal approval process, and then it will be posted hopefully in the next coming couple of months here. And that is all I have for CRF updates. We're kind of in between things right now.
All right, any questions or comments? All right, I guess we were up to reports.
Yes.
And we'll start with the voting members. Darren, anything to report?
I don't have anything.
Scott?
Executive Director Blanchard testified last month at a hearing on harmful algae blooms, and I attended with her, and there was a lot of support for the soil and water districts by witnesses that testified. So very good.
Yeah, I agreed. I listened to only snippets of it. I think others listened to the full thing. Blanche and, Caitlin, you sent out a whole list, a number of partners, and Mark Berger from Onondaga Soil and Water also testified at that hearing. I think it was all about harmful algal blooms, and yeah, everybody did a really great job, and there was a lot of nice support for districts. Commissioner Ball testified as well. So.
And Christy Lamotch from the Finger Lakes Lake Ontario Watershed Protection Alliance was also in attendance. And it was mentioned over and over again that districts are truly the boots on the ground. And everyone should have gotten that in their inbox. I attached the time that the partners spoke. And Scott, please relay our thanks and our gratitude to Blanche and Bethany, our gratitude and thanks to the commissioner. It was amazing to hear so much support, not just of what districts do, but how we need more funding to bolster our staff members to continue to implement research and harmful algal bloom public outreach that is so necessary. Thank you.
Megan, do you have anything to report?
I do not.
And I do not have anything. So we will go to the advisory members, Bethany.
Or I think we'll do in room.
Okay.
In person first, and then I'll
Yep.
do folks on the line. I think that'll be a little bit better. I'll just report out. I'm sure you'll hear a little bit more from our regional coordinators, but our staff are just wrapping up a series of regional managers meetings that took place Western New York, Cortland. We had one up in the North Country, in Montgomery County, and down in Dutchess County. I was able to make it to 2 of them. I know we have had staff who were able to go to all of them. It's always a great opportunity to hear from districts and share some information with them, but then also, you know, get a lot of good feedback and questions and discussion. So I appreciate everybody's work to make those happen, and also for all the districts for, you know, your incredible attendance. I think we had a lot of districts, staff, as well as board members attend those meetings as well. So that was great. I will talk a little bit more about this later, but I've been working to line up presenters and get the agenda drafted up for our July meeting. But when we get to the next meeting section of the agenda, I'll talk a little bit more about that. That's it for me. Brian.
Thank you. Just real quick, for the Division of Land and Water Resources, I act as the hiring manager. We're going through a lot of recruitment here in the department. I reported on this last meeting, but we did receive approval to fill 2 new positions for the state committee. One being a 6th regional coordinator that will be covering the southeast region of the state, and a 3rd AEM planner, CNP specialist position. And we are working through that and conducting interviews for both positions. And by next meeting, we should have even more of an update for everybody. But it's been really great to be working in this time of growth and capacity building here at the department. So I just want to publicly thank our Human Resources Office for their tireless work in processing so many applications in the New York State Helps program. That onus is on the department to ensure that each applicant meets the minimum quals. And they've been doing an awesome job in communicating with us regularly, giving us weekly status reports on all our recruitments, as well as also working with our managers within the division, you know, to fulfill the probationary requirements and performance evaluations. And it's just really great to see and to be a part of, you know, setting up the state committee into the future with filling out the staffing plan and growth and development and recruitment. So more to come.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jason, anything additional?
That's it. I would just, mention that we are gonna, later today, have the round 30 ranked list, for you guys to review. That would be an executive session kind of thing. After that, we start awarding.
Region 5, I'll go off of a little bit of what Bethany and Brian said. Like Bethany said, we had our managers meetings last week, the last couple of weeks. They went really well. I made it up to the North Country one as well as mine down in Dutchess. It's interesting always to hear what the different districts have to say, what, you know, might be more of a priority district-led discussion in one area that's not necessarily in another area, which is nice to hear, nice to see. Even though districts are so similar, it does vary across the state quite a bit. But they went well. Like Bethany said, we had a decent amount of staff, I think, at all the events, as well as some district managers. Sun was shining last week when my event happened, so there's a few managers that did not go. They were making hay. So, but that's all right. Yeah, but we have a lot of good notes, I think, that we took back from all the meetings. We still got to have kind of a recap at some point, I think, to go over that. But it was some really good discussion. To go off of what Brian said, you know, adding on that 6th regional position, which will be the bulk of my territory. We've started to somewhat make a transition here or there amongst the 5 of us. I've been trying to get to some of the other board meetings for the districts that I will be taking over. So made it to Rensselaer last week with Scott when he gave a district law training. Scott's been passing off some files, I'm going up to Warrensburg next week, I think, with Brian, to attend their board meeting. So trying to get some of that transition now done before the new person comes on, because that will obviously take some time as well. But all good things. After my manager's meeting on Thursday, I headed south. I went to Nassau's board meeting down on the island. That was good conversation. They're one of the districts that are looking at joining AM this year. They're fully on board. So they were finalizing some of their discussions at that meeting. Was also able to meet a couple of their new technicians that started in the last couple months. One of them is a backfill, but one of them is also a new staff person. So they're increasing their capacity down there. So that was great to see. Other than that, definitely got a few closeouts on my desk, including one of those round 24 ones. So that should be wrapped up here shortly. That's about it for me.
Thanks, Ben. Jennifer, anything else?
I'll just mention that we, under the CRF line item, we support Cornell Soil Health Program, and there's a lot of great events coming up this summer, and that's been going through the email, so just check them out. That's all. Thanks.
Thank you. Tim?
Nothing for me.
Nothing for me, Bethany. All right. We'll pop over to Syracuse. How about PJ? Are you guys still there?
Yep, we're still here. Sorry,
Okay.
double muted. Thank you. Just a couple quick things. Managers meeting went well, as Ben said. Always happy to hear what's going on across the regions. We had a few managers from different regions attend mine, so that was great. Had a lot of board members from district boards attend as well, so that was nice. I've been doing a lot of CRF and Ag non-point closeouts as well recently, and getting those in, turning those off the books so we can make room for new ones. Also, a lot of board meetings and trainings coming up. I'm going to do a training on the Eastern Finger Lakes Coalition for one of my districts here later next month. And then regarding the Eastern Finger Lakes Coalition, the meetings were happening last week. Capacity contract is moving forward. The job announcement for the watershed coordinator is out. And then the BMP implementation scope is at DEC for a quick review and signature, and then that one will move forward. So work continues in a very positive light in regard to the coalition. Other than that, it's just been pretty much business as usual here in Region 2.
Thanks, PJ. Tyler?
A couple quick notes, just a lot of travel the last couple of weeks, lots of meetings in various places across the state. A heavy focus on my end for the Eastern Finger Lakes Coalition and the reporting necessary for that. Looking at advancing the ways that we collect data and display data, both internally and externally. So kind of some exciting stuff, hopefully coming through the pipeline that we might be able to advance to some of our other programs. Big focus in the last week or so on the Owasco 9-element plan and buttoning up data associated to that on our end. So ag-specific BMPs being implemented across the watershed. Working with the districts to kind of collect and display that data for an upcoming meeting. And yeah, I think that's about it. Just a lot of meetings. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to stop sharing for a minute just so I can see the screen better. So we'll move to some staff who are joining from online and other locations around the state. I'll just go down my list. Greg, do you have a report today?
Nothing additional, Bethany. Thanks. Great work, everybody.
Okay. Brendan.
Hi, thanks, Bethany. I don't have anything big to report. I'll just echo what everybody else said about the managers' meetings. They were great, very, very good information coming in and going out for feedback. So great job with those guys. Thanks.
Victor.
Thanks. Regionally, a lot of the same activities occurring in Western New York as has already been described in other areas. I also wanted to mention that back in May, we were able to convene the first meeting of the newly reestablished District Operations Subcommittee. It's been around for a while, hasn't met since the 2019 era. Reestablished to assist districts and the state committee with the update of the current version of the operations manual for soil and water districts. We had a great group of people that attended the meeting back in May. Our next meeting is August 6th. And I hope to have the next or the first couple chapters drafted up on SharePoint for consideration probably tomorrow or Thursday. So looking forward to having that moving. Other than that, I just wanted to say that the camera placement in the Warsaw office has done an absolute disservice to the world-class wildlife mounts that Al has in his office here. You can probably just see the necks of the three huge bucks above me, but the wild turkeys behind the camera are absolutely jaw-dropping, so, and distracting. So we'll have to make sure that we get the camera moved if we have future meetings in this office. So
Oh, for sure. We see one of their faces, one of those bucks' faces, but that's it. Very cool. And just thanks, Al, for hosting today. Really appreciate it.
No problem at all.
All right. Lauren Prozorski, anything to report today?
Nothing to report today. Thank you.
Thank you. How about Chaz?
Morning, everybody. Just a quick update on round 18. There's construction going on and districts are out there doing technical work for AEM. And so we're really excited to see some of those projects actually getting finished and pre-closed out. So that's pretty awesome. Round 19 starts in January 1st. And so action plans are due July 1st. So I'm beginning to see a bunch of those come in. Strategies for districts are due at the end of this year, and that's a 5-year strategy. So it's from 2026 to 2030. And I'm starting to see a few of those pop in also. They all look fabulous so far. Just as a note, especially in the North Country, districts have been holding their local working groups for those documents. So good job, North Country, on getting those started and done. And we've been continuing to work on developing the nearshore aquaculture program, and had a great meeting yesterday. And tier 1 and tier 2 is under draft development and going really, really well. So I did attend all of the managers' meetings and they were really good, great feedback, great information, and great discussion. All of the AEAs did a great job at setting up. I can't judge the best food though, but the cookies were pretty good all around. So thank you.
Thanks, Chaz. Any other state committee staff that I may have missed on the line? I think I got everybody. All right, so moving on to advisory members. Did anyone from Cornell Cooperative Extension join? Okay. How about Cornell Cals? Any report today?
Not really anything to report. We finished the Agnon Point reviews, which was quite the process, and just plugging along, busy as ever.
Thank you, Jared. CDEA.
Good morning. We are unpacking our June meeting. I want to thank all of our partners and the CDEA board and district staff members who attended. We had representatives from both the New York State Soil and Water Conservation Committee as well as the New York Association of Conservation Districts attended both days. And we certainly missed our NRCS partners. Alana, it's great to see you here today. And if you have any information to share with districts, I would love for you to email that to me and I can certainly disseminate that statewide. Our next CDEA meeting will be held August 19th and 20th, someplace in Division 6. Nick Klemchek is going to host our 2-day meeting. Very exciting news. At our June meeting, the CDEA board reviewed 3 requests for proposals for an attorney, and we hired an attorney to help districts navigate district law. We're going to have the attorney review our bylaws, as well as answer some questions that Conservation District employees have brought forward concerning the consideration of hiring a lobbyist. The Conservation Skills Workshop, Administrative Conference, and Water Quality Symposium committees are all hard at work. They are working to coordinate classes and deliver excellent and beneficial trainings for district employees and partners. And of course, we thank our state committee employees who are also serving on all of those committees. The 2025 New York State Envirothon was flawless, and I had the pleasure of speaking with a lot of the committee members. I think that hosting the NCF Envirothon last year was very not necessarily overwhelming, but it was definitely a heavy lift. And easing into this year's Envirothon was definitely a breath of fresh air, taking that large scale event of the national back down and focusing it locally. Again, this event was flawless. The press release cited 39 teams comprising of over 200 students from across the state descended on SUNY Cortland for the 2-day event. They took tough tests in soil and land use, aquatic ecology, forestry, wildlife, and this year's emerging environmental issue, fostering forest stewardship in a canopy of change. I had the absolute pleasure of judging the top 3 evening oral presentation judges alongside Bethany and a slate of other judges. Ulster County, the Mount Academy, received first place and will go on to represent New York State at the NCF Envirothon later this year. And I want to thank the state committee for considering the 2 letters that Jennifer Kelly and the CDEA SPAC subcommittee had presented to you. We feel your support and we thank you for your consideration. Bethany, that's all for me. And Melissa, I will email you my report. No worries. I know I covered a lot, but I'll shoot you an email with those highlights. Thank you, Bethany.
Thanks, Caitlin. All right, moving on. DEC. Any reports?
Hi, everyone. This is Tony. Nothing from DEC today. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. Department of Health. Paul, are you still with us?
Yes, I am. Actually, I'll be with you another month, actually.
Well, all right.
We won't let you go.
No. Yeah, just one quick thing. Heard mention earlier talking about harmful algal blooms. There's a couple of people I work with whose background is lake ecology or limnology, and we're all curious to see, with all this copious amounts of rain this spring and early summer, how this shakes out, later in the year, come late July, August, in terms of algal blooms. The jury is out. Some people think with all the dilution, it should be better. Other people think, well, we're just washing all these nutrients into the water. So we'll have the answer later this summer. So better or worse. So anyway, that's all I have for now. And
given that you'll be around for another month, do you anticipate being at the July meeting or?
The July meeting will be in down at Cornell, right?
Yes.
Correct.
Right. Now, will there be remote access to that meeting or no, for that one?
No, we were
No?
planning an all in-person meeting.
Okay, all righty. Well, I'll see what I can do.
Well, we really like to see you
Yeah,
there,
it'd be
Paul.
great
Let's
to-
send you off.
Yeah.
So it's always fun to go down there anyway.
Very good. Well, thank you very much for your report and glad we can have you for a little bit longer. Did anyone join from Department of State? Okay, how about SUNY ESF?
Nothing big to report here. We had our Center of Excellence for Healthy Waters meeting back at the end of May. And I think a bunch of folks from sort of across sectors were there. So it was, I think, a cool networking opportunity for a lot of folks, but nothing else to report from this side. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Christine. And NRCS, any additional reports for today?
No, there aren't any actual reports, just an awareness that, yeah, we've seen a significant decrease in staffing levels, but NRCS is very much so active and well. And so local field offices are still getting the work done. We've done some restructuring of staff, including reallocating duties to some of our state office employees. So we're here and we're still getting conservation on the ground.
Thank you very much for that report, Elena. And certainly any way that we here at the state committee can help help NRCS, just let us know and reach out.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
All right. Any conservation districts who have joined us on the line have a report to share? Hearing none. Any members of the public? Do you have any reports to share today? Okay. I think we can move on in our agenda.
All right, the next topic is the next meeting, and I just wanted to ask, is there any voting members that don't see being able to make that meeting, given that it is at Cornell?
Nothing here for me.
Okay.
What was the date again?
So the actual meeting will be on July 15th, but then on the following day, July 16th, we are coordinating with the Tompkins County Soil and Water to plan a conservation project tour, which will include 4 stops, a good mixture of some ag projects and some non-ag projects. We're planning that particular tour on the 16th to be about a half a day, 8:30-ish to 12:30. I will share a couple of details, what we've been working out so far for the actual meeting on the 15th. So I'm still finalizing the agenda, but that is we're looking to start the meeting, our usual time, 10 o'clock in the morning. It's going to take place in Atkinson Hall, which is a nice meeting space, a relatively new meeting space from what I've been told. We have some regular business to conduct at that meeting. Specifically, we're going to be seeking an approval for round 31, the Ag Non-Point Source RFP, and then be bringing any amendment requests or anything of that nature for our programs to the committee. But we have lined up presentations from various faculty and staff members from Cornell University. We'll be hearing from folks about the Dairy Emissions Measurement and Monitoring Project. Joseph M. Silly will be presenting on the New York Soil Health Initiative, which Jennifer kind of shared about. They do a number of different things. They have a mini grant program and conduct a number of field days We will also be honoring Dale Stein for his service to the state committee as well. That's not a surprise, so we don't need to keep it secret. We'll be hearing from the Cornell Nutrient Management SPEAR program and about their efforts with nutrient management and greenhouse gas mitigation. We have a presentation lined up from the Water Resources Institute to hear all about, what they do and how they serve the state and how they support soil and water conservation districts. The Cornell Local Roads Program will be providing us a presentation. We'll also be hearing from the Cornell Small Farms Program. I have asked them specifically to talk more in general about what they do, but also talk a little bit about their agroforestry work. I believe the program director as well as their agroforestry specialist will be coming to that meeting. There is a remaining item that it's still not confirmed yet, so I'll just, we're working on trying to incorporate an agenda item that will focus on workforce development efforts. But that's still in flux. So the way the agenda is shaping up now, we will adjourn just before 4 o'clock in the afternoon. We are planning a lunch in the middle, so folks will have stuff to eat and a break time. But following the meeting, we will be having a tour of the New York State Methane Respiration Facility, which is approximately, I think, 5 minutes from where we're going to be meeting, and they're going to be walking us through that facility. So that will conclude day one, and then day two, we'll be meeting at the Tompkins County Soil and Water Office for our conservation project tour. So all that being said, we sent out a save the date email. I think it was earlier maybe last week, that we need people to respond by July 1st at the latest. That's so we can get an accurate head count for lunch. Voting members, if we need to reimburse you for hotel costs or anything, we need to have those dollar amounts figured out sooner rather than later so we can get the proper approvals internally. But same goes for anyone on the line. If you're interested in coming to the meeting and or the tour, please respond to Melissa Gordon and or myself by that date so we can have a good count of who is all going to be participating.
And of course, one of the primary concerns would be a quorum for the voting members, so that
yes,
we need to pass any resolutions, we can do so. So if anybody, in terms of voting members, can't make it, the sooner Bethany knows, the better, I would say.
Absolutely, because as we mentioned, it's going to be an important meeting. From the standpoint of we'll need to have that approval for the round 31 ag non-point source RFP. So yeah, let me know if there's any concerns from the voting members about that. Please contact me and we'll try to do our best to accommodate.
All right. Round 30. And I am definitely abstaining from voting, but may have to recuse myself because my cousin is married to one of the porters on Porterdale Farm.
Okay. So before we get into that, this is the point in the agenda where we have to ask all districts and farmers who might be on the line to recuse from the round 30 ag non-point source ranked list discussion, with the exception of our CDEA representative. They may remain on the line as well as any advisory member. So we'll just give folks a couple moments to sign off. If you are a district and you called in, you can go ahead and disconnect from the phone line because this will be the last item on the agenda. Yes.
Just as a heads up, Bethany, the New York State Fairgrounds have lost connection and they're trying to reconnect. But I think it's just PJ
Okay.
and Tyler there.
Yeah, thanks, Chaz. We, yeah, fortunately didn't have any voting members there at that location, so.
Yes. Yeah. They're
Not
trying.
as critical.
Yep, they're trying to reconnect. So just a heads up.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Huh? That's the don't go part, but we'll hear you.
Now, one of my farms is,
So,
one of the farms, my next door neighbor. All right.
so Darren, Matt has recused himself from this discussion, so as vice chair, we're gonna need you to kind of lead the discussion and the motions and all that.
Okay.
Okay, looks like we're in pretty good shape online. Here. Hang on one second, folks. Yeah, I'm struggling here.
Just do this set the way.
All right, hang on one second, folks.
Yeah.
Okay. Jason, go ahead. Do you want me to share or are you?
I can share.
All right,
That's what it's.
there you go.
Okay. There we go. So on screen is the rank list, and the size of it in digital form can only fit so much on a typical screen and still be legible. Those of you in the room, we did have printouts for you, slightly more legible. But I can go just scroll down the screen if you'd like. On screen is the EPF list, and as a reminder, there were 145 total proposals in round 30, 107 on EPF. So the various columns are just the project proposal number ranking on the far left there, 1, 2, that's how high they scored up. The idea they had, the conservation district moving over, the project name, state funds requested. The one next to that is important because it highlights the cumulative state funds requested, put up against the ranking. As a reminder, there was 14 million made available for EPF. This is not the end of all the funding. Like we say, there's some wiggle room with return funds and such, but as a reminder that 14 million was made available for this round for this trip. So this is 1 through 10. If you're, I can just go down. To 26.
And Jason, as you're kind of pausing on each of these screens for our newer voting member, maybe just a quick recap on how these proposals are scored.
Good reminder. So we take each of the proposals and 5 copies this year were distributed among our partner agency, scoring agencies, that being Department of State, DEC, Department of Health, Cornell Cows, and Ag and Markets here home. Not me, but a different reviewer outside of state committee staff. And they are graded, given points based on a scoring criteria, a total of 50 points each. And then they are combined together to a total of 250 points. There are also penalty points administered for things that were highlighted in the RFP. And then there are preference points this year. That was for buffer inclusion. So after inclusion of the, all the points together to 250 points minus penalty and preference, the total high scores could be 255 maximum. And the highest score for EPF was 234. I have to test it, we don't need to scroll around. So yeah, that's a quick overview of how things are scored year to year. We had 5 reviewers this year, so 250 points total. So moving down the end of this page, we see 27 to 33. Through 49 of EPF. $50 through 66. $66 through 71. Take a look at that cumulative state request there, 45 million at the bottom page. Okay, 72 through 88. $89 through 105. $106.7. $62 million requested from EPF. Okay, moving on to Bond Act. There was $1 million available for Bond Act funding this year. Just some quick stats about Bond Act. There was 38 proposals requested in total through Bond Act. One through 11.
And you said we had 11 million.
11 million for Bond Act. Here, high score for Bond Act funding was 231. The low was 165. Proposals 1 through 11, well, there. $11 through 12 through 28. $29 through 34. 35 through 38 to top off the 18.5 million requested through Bond Act.
So I'll just add in here, typically what we do, once the list is approved by the voting members, we will work with the front office to go through the award process, but we will award down the list until all of the available funding is allocated. And so that's kind of how it works.
So any questions on the table I can answer?
When would there be a time that you wouldn't approve what the committee has already deliberated on?
I don't know historically if that's ever happened. How would you come back at that?
Well, there have been, yeah, I guess I'm not entirely sure if we've ever had a situation where the voting members have not approved a ranked list. There have been times where we've presented ranked lists and then in going through the award process, found a mistake or something, and we've had to come back and have the ranked list reapproved. This is just to kind of formalize and finalize, I guess, the scoring process of our competitive grant programs. So the program manager assembles the list based on the scores that were provided by our independent reviewers. And we request that the state committee formally approve the list in order to be able to go ahead and make official awards to districts.
Okay, thanks, Bethany.
Are we all set for a motion then?
When you guys are, sorry.
And Jason can go ahead and read the resolution that was included on the last page of your agenda, which would, I guess, be formally requesting the state committee to approve that.
Sure, and I'll put that on screen so there's a little bit. So, when voting committees are, voting committee members are ready, remember committees. I will read the resolution number 2025-02, approval of the round 30 agricultural non-point source abatement and control grant program ranked list of proposals. Subject to the availability of funds, the committee shall award funding pursuant to round 30 of the agricultural non-point source abatement and control program for projects ranked on each list, each of the two lists, one list per funding source in order, ranked, and in the amounts recommended by the advisory members of the committee until funds available for this purpose are exhausted or the scoring threshold is reached, consistent with the Soil and Water Conservation District law, the RFP, and any other law applicable to funding of such projects. Consistent with the RFP, the committee authorizes the Department of Agriculture and Markets to negotiate the terms of the contract with the project sponsors and to make minor adjustments to the project description and budget as necessary to achieve project goals, conform to the applicable laws and regulations, and to serve the best interests of the state.
So do we have a motion to accept the resolution as read?
I'll make the motion. I'll make whatever. I'll second it.
Motion. We got a motion and a second.
Yes.
Who we got left to vote? I haven't got the names in front of me.
It's our, we got yourself, Megan, and Scott.
Okay, Scott,
Yes.
Megan,
Aye.
and an aye for myself.
Is that a motion carried?
So the motion carries, yes.
All right.
Thank you.
Well, thank you all. I think that concludes our agenda. Darren, if you want to close us out.
We got a motion to adjourn. Or can I just
No,
adjourn it?
Come on, Matt.
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
All right.
Second.
I guess we're adjourned.
Thank you all for a great meeting. We will hopefully see folks in July.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Great to see everyone.
Thank you.